What's good, everybody? It's Dalto. Welcome back to another video. Holy cow, I just got my legs taken out. Today, I don't really have a plan or script or anything for this video. I'm kind of just gonna chit-chat it up and call it a day. This is one of my videos that I pre-recorded before I did my family trip. So I'm like, you know what? This has kind of been on my mind for a minute, but I was like, you know what? I just don't really particularly know when to talk about it, so this is perfect time. Recently, I watched a video from a YouTuber that actually found me through this channel. Um, their name is Skello Bones. I'll link the video in the description below. But in the back half of their Forever World 2 video, they talked about how, just kind of their journey through self-expression and what that looked like. So I was like, okay, this is actually really cool because I have a lot that I've dealt with my own like self-expression and trying to not come to terms with, I don't know if that's the right word, but just like being okay with like how I express myself. So I was like, you know what? I kind of got inspired by them. I was like, you know, I am going to make a video on it myself and kind of just chit chat about it. So, first and foremost, what is self-expression? Self-expression is kind of just how it, like, at least in my opinion, how somebody presents themselves, and like how it is that they express like who they are, So I think that there's a lot of ways that people do this, and whether it's the way that they talk or the way that they dress or the things that they do, or even like, when we think about social media presence, like, what they post, how they post, that kind of thing, like are you, even if it's just like Instagram, where it's like, are you more of a, you post 10 pictures with a small caption, you call it a day, or are you like writing out big paragraphs to explain what you did or anything like that? Um, so for me, I feel like my expression has always been a little bit different than people around me, if I'm going to be honest, because like I have grown up in the American South. So for those of you who don't know, because I do know a big chunk of my audience is not actually from the US, which I think is really cool. But the American South is known for their hospitality. Don't get me wrong, like, it's like Southern hospitality. Like it's like, oh my gosh, you'll go out to someplace to eat and they'll call you honey or sweetheart or something like that, and be super nice. But at the same time, there is a big portion of the South that is um, a little alienated by things that are different than them. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just kind of that, like, it's not something that you see around here a bunch, so it kind of makes people feel a little like, on edge, or like they just kind of look at you weird if you're like out in public. For example, right? A lot of what I felt the pressure to wear growing up was like nicer things. Like if you were going out, you didn't wear sweatpants, um, you didn't wear certain clothes that made you look like quote unquote raggedy. Like you needed to look nice, you needed to look presentable. That's the word. You needed to kind of look presentable to the people that you were around. So with that being said, it made it a little difficult to um, dress like kind of how I wanted to, a little more stylistic. So like even to this day, I'm 20, right? Almost 21. And I recently bought my first pair of baggy jeans. But according to my family, like that doesn't look the most presentable. You need something that fits you a little better, that isn't quite, like different. I remember coming home I went to Hollister and it was baggy jeans, and I got me like not any particular sports team, but just kind of it was a jersey. So it was like a oversized jersey and oversized jeans. And it wasn't received too well. I also went to a Måneskin concert a while ago. They're an Italian rock band, and I wore some black sweats that I got, but they weren't like sweats. They were like nicer sweats. They were more like cargo pants, but like they were cargo pants, but they were the sweat pant version. So a little bit cheaper. And I wore a tank top, I believe, like a black tank top, and I saw a black leather jacket, but it wasn't like a like true leather jacket. That thing would have been expensive. I was working on a budget here. and it was cropped. And I was really worried. I was like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think about me? Now, the concert was actually a little, not a little, it was very far away from where I lived. So I was like, you know what? It works out. Nobody around's gonna whatever. But I was so scared of what my family or my friends thought that as soon as I bought it, I literally like hid it in my closet and did not wear it until like literally, I think I was when I was picked up or I drove there or whatever. I can't remember if I drove or my older brother took me.
Man, you
So,
are
but he
so
actually loved it.
versatile.
He thought it was really cool, but like I literally, I don't know what that was. I literally hid it until got basically to the concert and I FaceTimed my mom to let her know that we made it and she was very confused as to what I was wearing. It wasn't like she cared, but she didn't necessarily approve. And that's kind of how I felt like the South is, where it's like, you know, they won't necessarily, at least most people won't say anything against you, but it's like that silent judgment of like, I'm not gonna actively speak something to you,
That was a
but
low
I
key flex.
very much so am going to judge you. So I feel like that's a lot, at least from my environment, what I grew up in. And I don't know. So I've always struggled with being different. I've enjoyed different music. I've enjoyed dressing different. I mean, hell, I've done theater my whole life. So like, you know, for most people, at least the way that they think of theater is you're in tights and you're a dude and you put makeup on your face and you're dancing all across the stage. Like, you know what I mean? Like that has, at least around what I have felt in my life, some negative connotation to it. Now, as I've gotten older, people tend to care less, and especially being at college, a lot of
Outside
this stuff is
scoreboard,
more
score number 22.
acceptable, which is really,
Only
really
empty
nice.
room
I'm
remaining.
very grateful for that. I
Let's step
love
into
being
the
at
early
college, and there are
line.
a lot of people
She's
around me that,
charged anything.
love it. And
For
even if,
statements and
some of my
occasional
friends aren't necessarily big
Christmas
theater people, they
dessert,
still
save authority
like
until lunch.
support me
Here you
through it,
go.
which I am
That was just a
so,
yank.
so forever
At
grateful
least you
for,
slammed on a real track.
but I want to say all that to say I know what self-expression is like where it's a struggle to want to be yourself. Like you want to be who you are, but sometimes your environment doesn't allow that. Or at least, you know, you may think your perceptions of the environment don't allow it. Because imagine if you start to be yourself, the people that around you that also, are struggling to be themselves may be more open and you guys may be more alike. Or even people that you think, have nothing in common with you may actually, if you're expressing yourself truly, have something in common. The other day I went over to my girlfriend's college and there's this super cool, like it's her roommate's boyfriend, and I find him to be the coolest dude in the world, man. Like he's awesome. And we were sitting there and I knew he played Call of Duty, but I was like, I didn't know, anything past that. And I feel like Call of Duty's kind of like yeah, at least for a while it was, cool guys play Call of Duty, like that kind of thing. And I still kind of have that in my brain a little bit, I won't lie. Maybe that's also just because I wasn't allowed to play M-rated games for a while growing up. So people were playing Call of Duty and I was like, I can't play that game, I'm sorry, like that kind of thing. But I started talking to him about Resident Evil, and I was like, man, he actually like got into it. Was We were just talking about it, and there was another guy there that's, I feel like a little bit more my speed, and all of us were just chit-chatting about all these different games, and I was like, man, we have more in
Yikes.
common than I thought
You're
we did.
heating up.
And I wouldn't have known that if I wouldn't have opened up about, what kind of games I really actually do like playing. Like, yes, I do like Call of Duty, don't get me wrong, and I plan to make some videos on it soon, but I do enjoy more games like Skate. I enjoy, Resident Evil. Like, those are very popular games, don't get me wrong, but, for people that don't necessarily play those games, it may not be something that they're used to or whatever. So I feel like a lot of the fear of the environment does make self-expression a little bit difficult, but I want to encourage you guys to be yourselves because when you're constantly trying to fit in with other people, and I know we hear this a lot of our lives, be yourself, yada yada, but like as I've gotten older, and been in college and all the things, I really wish that most of my life I would have just been true to who I am and not tried to fit in with people because that, isn't always the healthiest thing, and it also makes you feel like you can't be who you are. Like it is okay as a guy to want to do theater or to play different games or to like reading or not to be a super big sports guy. Like all these things that are stereotypically male or whatever. I'm talking to the guy audience here too because I realized like at least last 28 days I've had 100% guy audience. So appreciate shout out to the boys out there, But all that to say, and who knows, maybe there are some girls that watch my channel that I'm just looking at the statistics. But all that to say, like, be who you want to be. And don't be afraid of when necessarily people don't um, take not take well, but may not necessarily view like being indifferent. It's I think it's a thing to be indifferent, but it doesn't mean they're not supporting you, but sometimes that can come across as negative because if you don't get a positive reaction, like no reaction is a bad reaction. So like I'll use for instance like the Resident Evil videos, right? They haven't been getting quite the views that I expected because I was like super excited about it. I was like, okay, it's kind of like a little bit more of a trend. Like it's a fresh game. It's like the first game that's like come out since I made my channel that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make videos on it. And they just, didn't get a ton of views, and that's okay because the thing is that I made it for me. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. Like I've lost a couple subscribers, and like that's okay because some people may want to see one thing from you or may like one aspect of you, but doesn't necessarily mean, that that's bad. And I'm not saying, people that don't want to see Resident Evil or, they're awful. Oh my gosh, these people are unsubscribed. Nobody's watched these videos. Like, no, no, no. That is not what I mean. I'm meaning it is okay to be multifaceted and it's okay for people to not necessarily like that. Like there may be um aspects of you that somebody's like, I don't really mesh super well with that. And that's okay because it's good for you, but it may not be good for somebody else. Like I want to encourage you guys to just be you no matter what somebody thinks. And it's okay to express yourself in a way that people may not be used to or that people may not like. Because at the end of the day, it's you. And if you're not being who you want to be, like, I think about it in terms of like a parent, right? They're like, you need to do this, you need to go to this college, you need to get into this job, you need to do this, you need to do that. But at the end, or at least some parents are like that, or everybody I feel like at least once in their lives, no matter how good of a parents they have, kind of feel that to it. But think about it like this, and I know this is kind of sad, but at the end of the day, parents pass away, friends pass away, other family members pass away. The only person that truly, truly, truly lives your whole life with you is you. So if you're constantly doing the things for people that are, fading in and out of your life, like friends, whether they're middle school friends, high school friends, college friends, whatever, people come in and out of your life, whether it's parents that tell you what to do growing up, but then pass, whether it's in your teenage years or in your 50s, like at the end of the day, the choices that you make need to be for you. And that starts with even just expressing yourself how you want to express yourself. Doesn't have to be, oh, crazy big life choices. It can just start with, yeah, I think that top is cute. Or, you know what, those pants look really sick. I'm gonna pick those up. I just watched Skellobone's video and I was really like, he talked about finding his own music taste and getting into shows and things that were uniquely his own. And it's just beautiful to see because I related to it. We all get stuff from our environment, the people around us, but I encourage you to be you. If you like something, if you want to wear something, if you like music, if you, really like this TV show that nobody seems to like or understand, or there's a game that you like, you're like, man, this is really sick. Like, do it. Do it. I encourage you, do it. I just played Resident Evil 9 and I thought about it like the first time I was making a couple of videos. I was like, man, I'm just making so many of these. Like I've made 9 videos by now, back to back to back. Is it worth doing? And I have the best of video too. I'm like 10 total videos and they're not necessarily the most popular thing in the world, but boy, did I have an absolute blast playing that game. And I think it's one of the best games I've played, this year, last year, let alone this decade. Maybe one of my favorite games of all time already. recency bias aside. So be you. Express yourself the way you want to express yourself. And I am so proud of you for even just trying to be who you are, no matter what it is. No matter what it is. If you're a dude and you want to go to a cool concert, like a rock concert, and you want to be like Kiss and, put some makeup on your face or wear some eyeliner or whatever, do it. If you're a girl and, you want to, I don't know, I don't, I like, I'm trying to relate to the other side. Like if you, want to play video games or watch a ton of football or do whatever, do it. These things in life are so amazing, and it's a shame that some people want to put something in a basket of, you know, dudes do this, girls do this, yada yada yada, when like our lives are so much more than just the constructs of our society. Somebody's gonna think that's super woke, but like literally, you know, I love me some white girl music. Some people may think that I'm weird for that, but bro, Rihanna, one of my favorite people to listen to. Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend. Dude, I bought that on CD and I play it on my CD player all the time. I know that whole album word for word for word, bar for bar. You know? Don't let anybody restrict you in what you do. Be you. Be unequivocally you. You know? There are no restraints on being who you want to be. And anybody that puts that on you, so what? F them as far as I'm aware. Be yourself. Because at the end of the day, we have this one life. We have this one life, and we've all been created so beautifully and special for a reason. I don't want to get anything particularly religious. I am a very religious person, but I just want to say that I believe that all of us were created um, by somebody so amazing, and we are who we are. Like obviously there are things that we do that aren't great, totally, yeah, understand that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to what clothes you want to wear, what, music you listen to, or what games you want to play, like those are things that we enjoy. And I think that, somebody that created such a beautiful world allowed for our minds to make such beautiful music, and this world that's around us is too amazingly crafted to not enjoy while we're at it. So don't let somebody tell you you can't wear baggy jeans or you can't listen to Sabrina Carpenter. Like, enjoy it, you know? Enjoy it because we were created, and this is such a beautiful world. We're created by somebody that loves us and wanted to give us the best. So know that that adds into the world and how we express ourselves. Like, I don't know. I'm on a rant. I'm on a ramble. I don't know if it makes any sense, but I was so inspired by Skello Bones, and I will link their video below. Please, please, please go and watch it. They are wonderful. And while you're at it, Maximite, I want to say that that's how every time I read it, I say Maximite. They're in my comments all the time, but Maximite, like the bug, like a mite, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to guess, but they also make wonderful, wonderful videos. I will link both of them down below. I will have Skellowbone's channel and the specific video, and then Maximite's channel. They're also on my channel page of, hey, um, what's it called? They're like on my channel page of like my friends. So, yeah, and I'll be putting more people that are, in my comments and things that are creators that I enjoy, because there are quite a few people that have reached out, like not reached out to me, but that have been in my comments that are just amazing creators that all express themselves in different ways, and I love it because it's different than my channel. Like Maxmite's different than my channel, then Skello Bones is different than my channel, and there's even more people like from my Resident Evil videos that I've probably added. So it's just so amazing, and I know that I'm yapping, but I just want to encourage you, be yourself. I know it's a message that we hear all the time, but it's no different than we hear, the most simple things of I love you from our parents, or, God loves you, or whatever. We hear it our whole lives, but sometimes we struggle to believe it. So I would encourage you to take the leap and maybe believe a few of the things that you've heard your whole life, and if nothing else, take the leap today of be yourself, even if it's just something small, you know, one small step. Slowly you can grow into the person
That
that you want to
definitely could
be.
have been worse.
I'm proud of you. If nobody else has told you that recently, let me be the first. I'm proud of you for who you are, not for who you try to be for everybody else, but for who you are, or just who you want to be. I am not the person that I want to be at the moment, but I'm working on it. You know, there's no shame in not necessarily being exactly where you want to be, but working on it. You know, I've got a goal of what I want to be, man. I want to be absolutely yoked. Still working on it. Just trying to eat a little more. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening to my ramble. I think that, you know, even if it just helps one person out there, or somebody's just like, yeah, you know what, I get that. So I love you guys. I will be back soon from my trip. I have tried to make as many videos as possible for you guys. I know that some of them have been a little bit shorter, but I just had to prep in like 2 days, you know, like however many videos have gone up from Sunday to Thursday. I love you all so, so very much. And I hope that you guys have a good morning, evening, afternoon, or night. Peace out, everybody.